What's going on, 5'9" gamers? Today in our video, we're going to talk about how a monster with only 200 attack can win against a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. If you're interested in checking it out, stick around for this Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel video. Today, guys, in this video, we're going to talk about a very unique deck that has a very unique mechanic. It's one of my favorite decks in the game, but before we get too deep into it, remember to like and subscribe. Check out 5'9" Gaming for all their content. They got everything: gaming, media, anime, anything you can think of, we've got it over here on 5'9", so feel free to check us out. Today in this video, we are going to look at the Gusto deck. So the Gusto deck is a deck I play in real life. It's a deck I really like personally. I think it's a very fun deck. The disclaimer I'm going to say on this is, think of it as a very fun deck, but it's not necessarily going to win in Platinum tier. So we're going to say that right out, okay? This isn't going to be like a top tier meta deck, but it is very fun. It has some unique mechanics, and we are going to intermingle it with another engine to help it kind of work better. So let's go in. We're going to do a little deck profile here. I'm going to tell you about everything in the deck, and then we'll talk about some combos and maybe show some gameplay, right? So the gist of how Gustos work is they're made up of very small, weak kind of creatures that they float. And when I say they float, what I mean by that is they're monsters that when they get destroyed, they summon out a new monster, kind of like a Mystic Tomato or some of those other old school cards, right? So it consists of a bunch of small monsters that can float, but then go into some very powerful synchros. And what the powerful synchros allow you to do is attack with your little monsters into big monsters, and your opponent takes all the damage. So let's go ahead and take a look at the profile here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to run 3 Gusto Eagles. Gusto Eagle is just a small 1-star 200 attack monster, but basically if it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, special summon a level 4 or lower non-tuner monster from your deck. So we're going to go ahead and run 3 of those, okay? We are going to run Winda, Priestess of Gusto. We're going to run 2 copies of her. She's another floater. She works a little bit different though, because your opponent has to attack her. The other floaters, you can attack into your opponents and still float and grab something new. But with Winda, your opponent has to attack her, so keep that in mind. But basically, if she's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Gusto Tuner. Then the other big floater we have is Gusto Guldo. We definitely want to play 3 of those. Basically, when Gusto Guldo is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon a level 2 or lower Gusto monster. Guldo is the best of the floaters because Guldo does not have to be destroyed by battle. If Guldo's destroyed in any way and sent to the graveyard, it still works. So if you get Raigeki'd or something like that, Guldo will still go off. And basically, they're going to float and search each other out. The big kind of MVP card that Gusto's got a little while ago that makes the deck run really smooth is Pilica, Descendant of Gusto. So in my Madolche deck, I talked about Petincessor as kind of being the MVP to get the engine going. In Gusto, it's Pilica. Basically, what Pilica does is when you summon her, you can special summon any wind tuner from your graveyard in defense mode. Its effects are negated, but that's okay because the whole goal is you bring the tuner out and then you synchro right away with Pilica. The fact that it doesn't have to be a Gusto is quite significant because you can summon tuners from this other wind engine that I'm going to talk about in a minute that we have in here. So that's basically it for the Gusto lineup, except we also have Gusto Vidir. So we got to talk about Gusto Vidir. So Gusto Vidir is another 3-star tuner that very recently came out, and he has a couple of really good effects. So if a face-up Gusto on your field is just destroyed or sent to the graveyard, you can special it from hand. Then, if you normal or special the card in any way, you can send a Gusto from your deck to the graveyard and then special summon a Gusto from your hand. So it basically can help you extend out plays, get some free bodies on board to help do your synchro plays. And then I believe that is it for the Gusto lineup. So now the other part of the monster deck we're going to run is we're going to run a Windwitch Engine. So the reason why we run the Windwitch Engine is it allows us to do some quicker, more powerful plays. Gusto on its own, to be honest, is too slow to compete in today's meta. It's a very defensive deck. You want to sit back and let your opponent attack you. You want to kind of get your plays going that way. It's kind of for like old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you have the more methodical back and forth. However, the Windwitch Engine gives us a whole nother element to the deck that can be very fast. We can get really powerful turn 1 plays that are very defensive that we can get some negates on boards and things like that. So for the Windwitch Engine, we are going to run 1 copy of Windwitch Snowbell. Basically, the effect of this card is if you control more than 1 wind monster, you can special summon it. And then if this card is used to synchro summon a monster, that monster cannot be destroyed by my opponent's card effects, which is really good. And you're going to find out why that's good in a minute. The reason why we only play 1 is you're typically searching out Snowbell with another Windwitch effect. Some other Windwitches that we're running, the MVP of the Windwitch Engine is going to be Icebell. Icebell, basically, if you control no monsters, you can special summon her out, and then you can search for another Windwitch from your deck and you can also special summon that, and then it's going to burn your opponent for 500 damage. The 500 burn isn't a big deal. Windwitch does have a little bit of burning in their kits, but that's not really the main thing you're going for. Basically, you're going to special summon Ice Spell, grab another Windwitch, which in turn will do other effects and kind of fill your board to do some powerful synchro plays, okay? When we do the gameplay later, I will demo the main Windwitch combo for you, but Ice Spell at 3 is a must for the Windwitch engine to work. We're going to play 2 copies of Freeze Spell. I could see Freeze Spell working at 1, 2, or 3 copies. It just depends on the style you want. Basically, if you just control one Windwitch or more and only Windwitch, you can special summon it. So it's just a quick way to get a free body on board. The thing you have to be careful with Freeze Spell, though, is if you have another Gusto on the field, you can't summon her. So it's got to be at least one Windwitch and only Windwitches. So keep that in mind with Freeze Spell. And then the other Windwitch is Glass Spell. Glass Spell you could run at 2 or 3. In this build, we're running it at 2. Basically, when this card is normal or special summon, you add a Windwitch monster from your deck to your hand. So anytime you can run a Searcher, that's really, really good, right? I think Glass Spell at 3 is fine. We're just running 2 in this version because we're trying to make room for some Gustos and some other plays, right? But that card at 3 definitely is good. Now for some non-Gusto, non-Windwitch, basically what we're going to run is we're going to run the triple Ash Blossom, right? So we all know what this card does. It's pretty meta right now. Anytime you can stop your opponent from searching the deck, getting summons from the deck, things like that, we want to do that. So we're going to run triple Ash Blossom. And then the other one, this is definitely more of a techie card and a personal preference. There are other cards you could swap in. There are other Gustos I haven't mentioned that are actually kind of decent. I've just found over time, I've played Gustos a long time, and they're just not as effective as I would like, but there are different combos you can do with Gustos if you like. But I like running Godarla, the Mystery Dust Kaiju. So in my Madolche profile, you probably saw me run Gamma Seal in there. I like Kaijus just because they're instant outs to anything. So if your opponent brings out some ridiculous, impossible to get rid of monster like Cyber Dragon Infinity, like very, very hard card to get rid of, right? ABC Buster Dragon, very hard to get rid of. Kaijus are great because you just tribute the monster away and you get rid of it. So I think of a Kaiju as like a spell or trap, basically. It's a monster card, but you can treat it almost like a spell or trap that's just going to wipe your monster away on your opponent's side, and it's going to clear something really difficult off, right? The reason why we run Godarla here is because a lot of our cards and our combos will limit us to only summoning wind for the turn. So Godarla is wind, which works out and we can still summon it, and we're actually okay with a higher attack. Your opponent having monster with a high attack actually works into the Gusto's benefit. And so the reason why I like to run Kaiju as well, it's not just to like get rid of a big monster, but if your opponent understands what you're trying to do, they're not going to put out big attacking monsters because it's going to allow you to defeat them quicker. Well, having a Kaiju in hand with big attack allows you to kind of take the initiative, put a big monster on your opponent's side of the field to allow your Gustos to work the way they're supposed to work, right? And I think that's basically it for my monster lineup. So let's go into the spell and trap card lineup. So we'll just start with some kind of more stapley stuff. So Raigeki, Harpy's Feather Duster, I just like field removal. You definitely don't have to run these. Like they're not like must in Yu-Gi-Oh today. So if there's other tech cards you like, you definitely could run that. Monster Reborn I do like in here because it's a great way to revive a lot of your big synchros, and you can use it to grab tuners out of the graveyard. Monster Reborn I do actually really like in here. Creature Swap is a card I love. It's an old school card. It's a card your opponent typically won't expect, but since you're playing a lot of little floaters, I run 2 Creature Swaps actually, and the reason why I like running 2 of these is just because you have all these little Gustos. Your opponent can bring out something big. If you don't have your play set up, you can summon a little Gusto, Creature Swap it. They have to give you the big monster. You send the Gusto over to them. You can attack your own Gusto. It'll float and summon something new to your side. And now you've got a big monster and you're starting to build a field of Gusto. So Creature Swap, I think, does work really well here. Once again, when you're in Platinum tier, it might be too slow for that. But for this kind of fun deck, fun build, I think Creature Swap is a lot of fun here. Windwitch Chimes, I'm just going to run one of these. The thing with like Creature Swap and Windwitch Chimes, some of these cards, like they're specific to certain types of cards, and you could definitely like get them at the wrong time. So you don't want to overload and go with 3 of them. But Windwitch Chimes is a great extender for when you have a Windwitch out. So all you have to do is target a Windwitch that you control, and you can special summon a Windwitch with a different name from your deck and defense position. So maybe you just get a Windwitch that doesn't combo as well. You can summon it, play this one, get another one that might trigger another combo, and then all of a sudden you're into a big synchro play. This deck is all about synchro plays, right? So anytime we can extend, get more bodies out to do that with, we're going to do it. Gusto does feature a lot of spell and traps in their archetype, but the only one I'm running right now is Tailwind of Gusto. I really like this card. It's a very good card, and it's an equip card of all things. Equip cards aren't nearly as common as they used to be, but this card works fantastic in Gusto. Basically, you can equip it to any Gusto monster. The equipped monster cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And then it's got a couple effects that you can use once per turn. So basically what you can do is if it's in your graveyard, you can discard a wind monster and add a Gusto spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So if you get one of these in your graveyard, you could discard a wind monster and then grab the other one to hand and then use it for the equip effect. If you're running other Gusto spell and traps, if you decide to do that, you could grab those as well, right? The main way I use it is I equip it to a Gusto monster, and if it's equipped to one of your small ones, like a level 4 or lower, you get to special summon a Gusto monster from your deck with a different type. So your little ones are going to be winged beasts, like the little floaters. So if you equip it to them, you bring out one of the psychic monsters, which would be like Winda or Pilica, something like that. Typically, you're going to go into Pilica, and you'll find out why when I go through my combos. If you have a 5 or higher, you're going to special summon a level 1 tuner from your deck. Basically, that's going to allow you to make the right combos to get the synchros off. This version of the deck isn't running any 5 or higher, so we're basically using it for the 4 or lower effect. So basically, it's going to allow us, if we kind of have a dead hand, but we at least have one Gusto in this, we can start a play, right? So I really like that card there. Emergency Teleport, I'm running this at 2. Pilica is a psychic, and she's going to be your main target for this. And she's going to work out really great. Just a disclaimer on this, in the actual like physical card game, Emergency Teleport just got brought up to 3, and I think eventually Master Duel will update their list to the current one, so just keep your eye out on that. I would run this at 3 if you can, but on Master Duel right now it's at 2, but that's a great play. And then we're going to run for the trap cards just 3 Infinite Impermanence, and that's going to be for the basic meta, basically, right? So 3 Imperms, 3 Ash, that's pretty typical. For the Syncro deck, we're just going to run a few Gusto cards and then some main ones. The Syncro deck, there are a lot of cards that you can kind of play around with, but I've got like the main core in here. So Daigusto Falcos is a 4-star. It's honestly not that great. I just have it as a 4-star option because there is an opportunity where you could have a 1-star and a 3-star in this build, and you maybe want to synchro into something just to have a body. You could do that, but basically all it does is all Gustos get 600 attack when it comes out. Nothing too great. You're mainly thinking of this as an extender if you need to synchro into something small to get into something else. Daigusto Goldos, we're going to run that at 1. It's a 5-star. Basically, you can shuffle 2 Gustos from your graveyard into the main deck, target 1 monster your opponent controls and destroy it, and it does have to be a face-up monster. So we're going to run 1 Goldos. I go into it sometimes, but usually not too often. It's kind of situational. Your main boss monster for Gusto is Daigusto Sprees, and you want to run 3 of these. Daigusto Sprees basically makes the whole engine work. So what this card does is, 1, when it's summoned, you get to pick any Gusto card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. And then while it's face up on the field, it cannot be destroyed by battle. And any battle involving a Gusto monster, your opponent takes the damage. And that is extremely powerful. So basically what that means, if I have Sprees out and I say have Guldo out, and Guldo's got like 500 attack, Guldo can attack Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and all that battle damage ends up going to your opponent instead of you, which is really crazy. And then your Guldo is going to float into something else, which is also going to be small, and it's still battle phase, so that next monster can attack into the really big monster. So you can sometimes get OTKs with this. If your opponent has something really big and beefy out, you get this Sprees combo going with a couple of floaters that are just attacking in and floating. That's how you can defeat your opponent with like a 200 or 500 attack monster, right? So Sprees is the main Gusto play you want to do, and she's a 6-star. We're also going to run 2 Daigusto Laplam Pilica. This card is also a really cool extender play. So if you can make a 6-star and you have a Gusto in hand, you usually want to go into this first and then Sprees. But depending on what your hand is, if you can only make 1 6-star, then you just want to make Sprees right away. But basically what this card does is, if it's synchro summoned, you can special summon a Gusto from your hand and then 1 from your deck, but negate their effects. Then after it resolves, you immediately perform a synchro summon. So the whole idea is you want to have like Pilica or another 3-star in your hand, and then you want to summon that, and then another 3-star tuner to go into Sprees. And then you would have Lapland Pilica and Sprees on board. That's the main play you'd want to do with that. So when that works out, you want to do that. For a 7-star Gusto, we're going to run Daigusto Eagles. This one's more situational. It's not my first choice to go into. Basically, during your end phase, you can banish a wind monster from your graveyard, target a face-down card your opponent controls, and destroy it. So kind of situational, a little bit slow for the modern meta, but it's something you could play. There are a couple of Windwitches we're going to play. So for 7-star, we're going to play Windwitch Winterbell. Usually this is the 7-star I go into. So what Winterbell does is, when it comes out, you can target a Windwitch in your graveyard and then deal direct damage to your opponent based on the level. So normally you're targeting a 4-star and doing 800 damage to your opponent. During the battle phase, as a quick effect, you can just summon a monster from your hand. So that's kind of cool. We usually don't do that though, because Winterbell usually gets synchroed away right away, and you'll find out why in a little bit. But Winterbell is usually my 7-star play, so I run 2 of those. And then we're just going to run 1 Stardust Dragon just to have a cool 8-star option that can do a lot of negates. We're going to run 2 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragons. Honestly, you could up it to 3, but 2 is usually enough. This is really the main thing that the Windwitch gets you to. So basically what you have to do to get this guy out, you have to synchro it with a tuner and a non-tuner synchro. But basically, once per turn during either player's turn, if a monster effect is activated, you can negate it as a quick effect. So during either player's turn, it'll destroy the monster and it adds the attack to Crystal Wing. So basically, to have a monster negate on board is really good. The combo with this is if it was synchroned with Snowbell, which it will be in the combo that I'm going to perform, it also can't be destroyed by card effects. So here then you've got a big monster that can't be destroyed by card effects. It can negate a monster effect, and it can't really be destroyed by battle, because the other thing it has is if it battles an opponent's level 5 or higher monster, it adds the attack to itself, so it can't be destroyed. So the only way to actually attack over this is if you have something lower than level 5 with really high attack, or if you have something without a level like a Link or an Xyz monster, they could attack over it as well. The other way an opponent could get over it is something that would like send it to the hand and not destroy it. So there are ways around it, but this guy is pretty much your boss monster on the Windwitch side of things, and he's very hard to get rid of. He's a great turn 1 play, and honestly, you only need 1 card in hand to get this guy out turn 1. So if you have Ice Bell, you get Ice Bell right away, and this guy's dropping, and you're good to go, right? If your opponent doesn't have any negates along the way. So Crystal Wing is super powerful, very, very good monster. Still, this guy's still good in the current meta. It's just that the cards we're using, the deck we're using, Gusto, isn't really a meta-relevant deck. But once again, you can have some fun. You can surprise some people with it, right? So then another Windwitch we're just going to run 1 of is Diamond Bell. So if you have the situation you want to run it, you can. Once again, it's more situational. Usually your 8-star play, you're going into Crystal Wing every single time, right? But basically, if you synchro summon this card, you can target a Windwitch in your graveyard, and you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its attack. So it's got a little bit of burn damage. Like I said, Windwitch is doing that. You can only use it once per turn. And then if your opponent takes battle or effect damage, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. And if it was synchro summoned only using Windwitches, you can do that twice per turn. So like I said, Windwitch has a little bit of effect burn damage. So what this card does is it emphasizes that by anytime you do a burn, you pop a card on the field. Since this card does a little bit of a burn when it comes out, you immediately get to pop a card. And then if you play any other Windwitches that do burn, you can pop another card. So it's interesting. Like if you need to get rid of something troublesome that maybe Crystal Wing can't, then I would go into Diamond Bell, right? Okay, and then these other 2 cards are just kind of throw-ins, kind of some techier things. So I kind of like Totem Bird. Totem Bird is a rank 3 Xyz play. And basically, if I have a really strong board and I want to protect it, I bring out Totem Bird. So you just Xyz it with 2 level 3 wind monsters, and basically you can detach 2 materials to negate a SpellTrap card. Once again, kind of situational, but I have found use for it, and it has won me some matches. So Totem Bird's kind of fun. And then win the Wind Charmer Verdant just to have a link option in here. Now, there are other generic link options you can run. So this card definitely isn't a must run. It's just kind of a fun link option you can run, especially if your opponent is playing wind monsters. You can use it to summon a wind monster from your opponent's graveyard. And then if it's destroyed, it can allow you to go in and search into the deck. So it's just nice to have something like, if you have like 2 tuners or like something you can't make a synchro play with, this at least gives you something else you can make that you can maybe do something with. So that's the main deck lineup and the extra deck. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into some matches, and I'm going to show some plays. And for this, I'm just going to jump into solo matches so I can take my time against the AI and just demonstrate the combos. All right, so we're back in a match here, and what we're going to do is we're going to try to just demonstrate how the Gusto side of things work here. So on a turn like this, you can see I've got Winda, I've got Goldo, and I've got Eagle. So these are all just like my floaters, right? What you want to do on a turn like this is, and this is why Gustos aren't great in today's meta, because it's slow, right? In this instance, I just want to set, pass, and hope they attack. So we're going to see what happens. But Goldo should be your first priority to put out first if you have them, and you want to try to get them in the graveyard. So I'm going to set Goldo to the field. Now, we have emergency teleport on hand. The goal is to get Gusto and Pilica, and that's going to allow us to do that. So let's see what happens. We are going to end step here, and then we're going to see, hopefully the opponent will just come out and attack my Goldo. And this is why we we run the Windwitches is because you can see the Windwitch is a more aggressive thing, whereas Guldo's more passive, Gusto's more passive. We want to be attacked. But it looks like they're going to attack us here, so this is good. So this is how the floaters work. He gets attacked, and now I can summon from the deck, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and grab... normally what you would want to do here is go into Eagle, and then I'm going to put Eagle in defense, and they should attack Eagle. If they don't know how Gustos work, they're going to keep attacking, right? Now, Eagle goes to the grave, and with Eagle now, you can grab Pilica. So watch what happens. We grab Pilica. And then when Pilica comes out to the field, she's going to special from grave. And you want to get Guldo. So this is the main combo here. Get Guldo and grave, and then get Pilica. And then we're going to do that. And then we're good to go. So now we're basically set up for a Spreeze. And then now since I have Teleport, I've got other monsters I summon, I can open up more plays. And I got another Guldo. Okay. So we can do a lot of things here, right? Now, because I have plenty of other Gustos in hand, what we're actually going to do, if you have other Gustos in hand to make Synchro plays, you actually want to go into Lapland Pilica. So we're going to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to get Lapland Pilica. We're going to Synchro these two together. Okay, and then we're going to bring Lapland Pilica out. And then what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to summon one from our hand and deck and do a Synchro. We can't activate Guldo, that's fine. So we're going to activate Lapland Pilica. Okay, we are not going to combo that. All right, so now what we're going to do is, if you can, you want to summon a 3-star that can combo with Pilica. So from the hand, let's go ahead and get Guldo. And then from the deck, we are going to get Pilica. Okay, so we're going to go attack position for both. That's fine, because we're going to Synchro them away anyways. Okay, so now I've got my monsters, and then I'm going to immediately Synchro summon into Spreeze. And that's what Lapland Pilica does. So if you have the cards in hand to do it, go into Lapland Pilica. If I didn't have the Gustos in hand, I would have just went into the Spreeze directly. Okay, now what's going to happen is Spreeze comes out, I activate her effect, and I can add to hand. The target you want with Spreeze is Pilica, and here's why. Now on my next turn, if they get around my Spreeze, I can just summon Pilica again, and I have Guldo in graveyard, and then I can do that same play again and bring out another Spreeze, right? Now at this point, I've got Teleport still, so I'll save that for later. So maybe what I'll do is I'll set it, because then I can go into another Pilica and get Spreeze back that way. This is why you want to run 3 of Spreeze, because it's so easy to go into. But here's how the combo works now. Let's say I bring Guldo out. Not Guldo, sorry, Eagle. So we're going to bring Eagle out. So now what I can do is I can go to battle phase. And what Spreeze does is my opponent always takes the damage. So you can see they have a 2400 attacker out. I can attack with my 200 attacker into the 24. And you're going to see my opponent's going to take that 22. Now Eagle is going to float, and I can go into something else. Eagle is going to float into, we'll just grab Winda. And then if I wanted to, I could attack with Winda. It's still battle phase, so Winda can attack through and do damage. Now, Winda will not float, unfortunately, because it has to be from my opponent's attacking monster. The reason why they restricted her is because you could do an infinite combo and go through your whole deck and win. So that's why they restricted that. Okay, and then now what I could do is, sure, let's have Lapland Pilica attack the 17. And then Spreeze can actually attack into the 24 and still do damage, and Spreeze is not destroyed by battle, right? So that's the main combo there, and then you just keep going till your opponent's dead. So that's the Gusto combo. Now we're going to go ahead and try to get a Windwitch combo, and we'll show that on the next slide here. All right, and we are back, and now we can do the Windwitch combo. So basically, to do the Windwitch combo, you pretty much just want to start with Ice Spell. So Ice Spell says, if I control no monsters, I can special summon her. So let's do that. Effect activation, and we'll special. Okay. And then when she comes out with that effect, then I can special summon another Windwitch. So typically what I would go into then is I would go into Glass Spell. So Glass Spell is going to come out. The opponent is going to take 500 damage, and then Glass Spell is going to let me search the deck and add a Windwitch to my hand. So we're going to do that. Okay, and the Windwitch you want to choose here is you want to get Snowbell. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and grab Snowbell. So now I got Snowbell in hand. The crazy thing at this point is I still have it normal summoned, right? In Snowbell, since I control 2 winds now, I can special summon. So I can go ahead and bring Snowbell out. And so I've already got 3 monsters on the field, and I still have not used the normal summon, right? So now what you want to do is you want to special summon and you want to go into Winter Bell. So we're going to grab Winter Bell and we're going to synchro those two together. Okay, and then we're going to put Winter Bell out. When Winter Bell comes out, Winter Bell is going to go ahead and target a Windwitch in the graveyard and deal direct damage. So that's just kind of a bonus. That's not really like one of the main things that we do. So we're going to activate that effect just because we can. You want to target your highest level Windwitch. So we're going to do that, and that's going to deal 800 damage. Okay, so now we've done that. Now we have our Syncro and we have our 1-star tuner. So now we Syncro again. And then this is the big play. We want to go into Crystal Wing. So we're going to get Crystal Wing out. So we're going to do this and this. Okay, and now this is our big boss monster. This is what you want to get. And this turn 1, your opponents do not like seeing this turn 1. Because now we have a quick effect, monster effect negate, right? Which is the big one. Not to mention you could have Imperm in your hand. You could have Ash Blossoms. You could have several negates that they don't know how to deal with, right? But the other thing is not only is this guy negating monster effects, it's going to gain attack if it battles level 5 or higher, and because it was someone with Snowbell, can't be destroyed by card effects. So it's a very, very hard to get rid of monster. Now, because we haven't used our normal summon yet, we have other plays. So sure, just for fun, let's bring out the Eagle. I can equip with the Tailwind of Gusto equip card. Sure, let's do that. And then we can activate that effect and bring another Gusto on board. And then, sure, we can go into Pilica. So now we're just comboing out. So let's go into Pilica. Pilica's going to summon from Grave. And sure, let's grab our 4-star tuner. This is what's significant about Pilica, is that Pilica can grab any wind, not just Gusto. Hey, look at that. I've got another Syncro play. So let's go in and, sure, let's do another Winter Bell again. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, and then we'll do that. And then, if I had another Crystal Wing, I could actually make another Crystal Wing right now and have 2 Crystal Wings on board. If I wanted to, though, I could just leave my board like this, leave Eagle to float, or I could, once again, I could go into Crystal Wing if I had one. I could go into the other Windwitch. I could go into Stardust. So I have another 8-star play there as well. So anyways, guys, I hope you like the Gusto deck. That's basically how the 2 main combos run. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe 5-9. My name's JoeWags. I really appreciate you guys coming out watching the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next one.